Hey everybody, it's Tony the Blacksmithing Gamer, and here we do everything from blacksmithing to 3D printing to bringing the things inside the video games into the real world. This week we are making something from Resident Evil 3 Remake, specifically the key from the graveyard and a mini version of the bullet press. Now I'm doing something a little different this week. Instead of just giving you the 3D design and allowing you to print it, I'm going to show you a little tutorial on the actual 3D design itself. Let's get started. I'll show you how we made it. Hey everybody, it's Tony the Blacksmithing Gamer here again. We are doing something a little bit different this week. I've had a few requests asking about the actual 3D design aspect of things, and so yeah, I was just going to show you a little bit of a tutorial on one of the many programs that I use for 3D design. This is what I started with, and this is why I'm starting with this one, is because it's relatively simple to use, and you can get, it has a lot of good features that actually it's expanded on since I've been really using it last, and I just kind of wanted to play around with it to start making the graveyard key from Resident Evil 3. Earlier this week I threw out a call out to see what you guys wanted to get made from Resident Evil 3. There's lots of little knickknacks, items, and collectibles that you have to get to proceed in the game, one of them being the graveyard key. And if you've played the original, you know what you access and you know what's behind what this key unlocks. No spoilers. So yeah, obviously the start of any 3D model or design is kind of knowing the basic concept. So in this case, I got some source images for what we're going to be doing today, and we have that loaded up here. We're going to be kind of referencing it for a lot of this design, but let's just give you a quick layout of Tinkercad. So this is a free web-based 3D design software. So you could log in with any Google account. You can log in, you can just create an account and just start designing things. You can import things, export things obviously once you've designed it. One thing I like using this in particular for is if I find something on the web and want to make it just edit it. I find this is really good for editing pre-existing designs that are out there. I've used this sometimes for slicing if it's not rendering properly. If there's some odd triangles, this guy cleans it up a little bit. It also makes it look a little bit rougher, I found. But it really depends on what you want to use it for. If you just want the general shape, this is great. So let's get started. We have the basic shapes, text, numbers, characters, connections. These are new since I used it last. So connections in the hangout space. These are kind of cool. So if you're making a model, which honestly I might start using these guys a lot more in some of my projects, you can make sockets. So like if you want articulating ball joints and fancy sockets, this is where you can definitely get some, and it's all free. So as far as I'm aware, yeah, you could just plug and play these into any project you're working on, and you know, you could essentially make a articulating piece. But we're dealing with basic shapes today. So if you're familiar with drawing on a piece of paper, you know how to draw on a 3D space, except you have the third dimension. So I'm going to start with the square piece because, well, that's a basic shape. Let's hit done. Oh, we don't want that. Delete. Just hit delete on the keyboard for that. So we're going to start with a basic box. the grid pattern here kind of helps you. Well, it's a grid pattern. So if you want to make a square, it's pretty easy. If you want to make a rectangle, again, pretty easy. This one drags out the x-axis, y-axis, and this one does the z. Sorry, this one does the move. This one does the z. So we're not going to make this key too thick. Probably about, well, make it 5 units, because we're not going to assign any. You know, we could always scale this with 3D modeling. So we're done with that. So we've basically just made a square, a rectangle, or a square that houses. That's kind of the beginnings of this section up here. From here, this is where we're going to use the. We're going to make one more box. We're going to make the base design. And it's about eyeing it up. So if this is our source, so it's about 1, 2, 2.5 or 3 times as long. So this one's 4. So we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a half. 1, 2. So that's kind of the beginnings of our key. We want it to be a little bit shallower than the original. We'll make that a 3 high. And you could already see the key starting to take shape. Now, we know this key has a little section here like that. So the next thing we're going to do is learning how to remove some items. So if this is a filling box, this is a removing box. So in the design we have a few little boxes we got to remove out of the key. So what we're going to do here is plop this guy close to the end, and it's a hole. That's it. So now this part is removed. Next, we want to do a little bit a smaller hole. These are kind of off shapes, and you can use different shapes like a wedge, for example. Let's use a wedge for the next one up here. Let's rotate it, because I don't need it on that side. Undo that. Control Z is still undo for a lot of this. Size that down a little bit. It kind of goes up, not fully back out. So I'm just using the mouse to key over some of these guys. Roughly in line with that guy. And we're actually going to make this little section now. So, and we could just, and in case you accidentally click the wrong one, you could make it a solid, you can make it a hole, and that's just an option here. Next, back to the solid box. Let's make it something like this. Make it the same height as the rest of the key. But bring that in a little bit. Yeah, actually bring it out a little bit. There we go. It's starting to become a little bit better. You could change these, so if I decide, oh, I don't like that wide, I want it, I could always click on it and edit it. So if you make a decision and you're doing the design a little bit later, you can always go back. Let's do these 3 teeth here. Let's make this yay big. It starts out at about the same height as here, and make it a little smaller. Copy that, paste it, copy that, paste it. So if you're unfamiliar with the Microsoft default copy and paste commands, they are Control-C, Control-V. Excuse me. And so let's do this is basically an inset. It's like a bevel that goes into the key. So what we're going to do, it starts almost at the top, right about here. It runs the entire length of the key. So here's one of the things you got to pay attention to. So if you're doing something like this, right now, this would cut through the entire object. So if you used it this way, it would just cut this key right in half. We don't want that. We want it to just hover and slice off a layer. So that's what this little arrow does here. So this basically allows you to move it up and down so the bottom sits where you want it to sit instead of it just sitting right on the table, I'll call it, right here. And that's this, it doesn't look like much right now. That's the bottom end of the key pretty much. Let's give it another cut off right here, something like that. Twist that around. Give that a bit more shape like you have at the end here. Copy and paste that. There. So now if you look kind of at the light red parts, you'll see that it's kind of looking like the key. And you could add as many shapes to cut and add as you really want. It depends how much detail you want. And so now let's cut this part out up at the top. Again, just like we did with this section right here, we're going to raise this up a bit because we don't want it to cut through the entire object, we just want it to cut through a little bit. And the same thing with this section here. That up, and then maybe one down. Finally, we're going to make one more hole at the top. this up here so it's even. 4x4. And let's find the center of this guy. And that will cut out this little hole up top here. That's pretty much our key. Now, you could get super detailed, you could start trimming the edges with a few more boxes, like this. You can go copy. And it really just depends how detailed you want to get. Move this guy, something like that. You know, if you just want to not have as harsh edges as you know, just smooth them over a little bit. Here's trimming them up ever so slightly, because that way it'll give it a little bit rounder of an appearance. And this is just this one program. This is one way you can do it. Other programs have other easier ways to do this. I'm just showing you how you can do it in this program. And it looks kind of crazy right now because of all the boxes to remove, but you can export. We use STL files. So you export, take a look at it, and there is our key to the graveyard. So, and you know, I might tweak it a little bit more. This was a quick 10-minute tutorial how to get a rough shape cutout in 3D space. So there's obviously a texture pattern here that if you wanted to go to town, cut out each one of these little squares in this pattern, you're more than welcome to do that. There's definitely easier ways to do that in other programs. But again, if you're just want something cut out in broad strokes, this is a great way to do it. Now that I'm looking at it, this size might be, I might want to increase this size, but generally speaking, that looks like a key for the graveyard. Let me know what you think, if it's close, if it's not. Let me know what you think. Do you like this sort of stuff? Leave us a comment in the section below. Alright, so we got the key for the graveyard from Resident Evil 3. We're going to go ahead and paint that guy now, and then we'll show you the press. So, stay tuned.
So we got a mini version of the press. It still has some support material on it, but you get the idea. It's a little replica of the press from Resident Evil. Let's get to painting it. So a few things about these guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the design side of this. I kind of walked you through the step-by-step and the 3D printing side. If you want to make your own keys or other items. If you like the sort of tutorials that I put together today, leave a comment in the description below. Obviously these are just starters. These aren't the in-depth versions of how to design these things. But if you're looking for more of this sort of stuff, I'm not an expert at it, but I could definitely help guide you through it a little bit more if that's what you're looking for. This is the graveyard key and also the bullet press. Obviously this is a mini version of it. The 3D print filament is on order from Amazon. It's not a urgent item, so Amazon is going to be a little slow, and that's okay. We're continuing our cosplay segment this week. Let's check out this week's cosplayer. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button down there below, or if you want to follow me in any of these social media websites, you can get daily updates on the projects I'm working on. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tony, the Blacksmithing Gamer, where every week we're making things from the games we love.